baby. There we are. GDPLive. There we are. We are live on YouTube. There it is. All right, perfect. All right, live on YouTube. The Gross Domesticated Podcast. I'm your host. I'm Pat George. We go live every Monday, every Wednesday, and every Friday from 11 a.m. ish until 1 p.m. Usually, pretty much on the dot. I mean, sometimes we go long, but you never know. Like, obviously, we can get into something, and you know, we get a little caught up in conversation. People pound off in the chat. You can pound off in the chat if you join the show every Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. You can either pound off in the comments here, or you can call in the show. You can see the number here on the screen. It's 717-559-2971. That's 559-2971. You can call into the show, and then I will, I don't know why I said it like that. You can call into the show, and we can chat about whatever you'd like. If there's something that we talked about in past shows that you have some feelings about, or maybe you feel like we got wrong, I always love a nice correction. I love being corrected. Let me see here. We are live. I'm doing it like Bruce Buffer. Live. There we go. Paste it. Hold on a second, guys. Just sharing this sumbitch right quick. Boom. There we go. And that is shared to Facebook. See if I can share this. Can I do it? See if I can do it from my share to my story. No, I can't. Share in a group? Yeah, why not? Obviously there. But yeah, this is the Gross Domesticated Podcast. We go live. We talk about, what did we talk about on, oh, actually, hold on. Look at this. That's why I have notes. Perfect. Dom was here on Wednesday. She got to pound off right next to me on the old chair. She's usually sitting here. As well as Clopo. She was fucking wild that day. This is not posting. Okay. No receipt. Whatever. Good. Boom. All right. All right. That's good. I'm done with that. No more distractions. Gross Domesticated Podcast on Wednesday was we talked a lot about vaccines and people. It's a weird thing because I feel like when Dominique and I sometimes we have separate we have separate views of. Sorry, I went right before the show. I walked all the way downstairs, checked the mail. Happened to be my new MMA training gloves were here, so I got very excited. I opened up the box and I wanted to try them on. So that's why I'm late. Because also right after that, Stanley needed a little bit of cuddles, so I was cuddling him. So also, I scaled 2 flights of stairs right before starting the stream, so I apologize if my speaking is a little rushed or I sound like I'm out of breath, because I literally am. But we talked a lot about vaccines and like how like parenting, like how people like parenting. Actually, you know what? I think a lot of that was probably not even heard because I remember we had some audio issues. I did test that ahead of time, but we were just basically going over like parenting and like people. She kind of has this thing where like, oh, parenting groups, because then you have support from other parents. And I was like, yeah, she supports that stuff, like groups like that. But a lot of times I feel like it gets to a point where you are only listening to that, or you're only dealing with that. Like if a doctor says, hey, my medical research shows this, and then the mommy group is like, yeah, but I heard, you know what I mean? Or there's research here, like, okay. But it's all about treatment of, like, she was talking about how, I guess that's the thing, is like her going like, well, if you don't feel right about that, you shouldn't do it. And it's like, yeah, but intuition's nice. It was a very interesting conversation. Let me just say that. But it's interesting because there's not a lot of things like we don't like. That is the important thing about whenever we talk about like having kids or anything like that, raising a family is always like having those discussions. It's like it doesn't matter if like it's good to have both, and that's why I think we work so well. Is because she is like a lot of feelings, not a lot of practical application, I guess. I'm very practical. She's very emotional. So it works like that because then we have discussions like that where she's like, I don't know if I feel about this. And then I can go, yeah, but, there's a whole medical doctor saying the thing. It's interesting. I like that. But we also talked about the weird gas shortage that happened because of some fucking hacker or some shit. I don't know. She kind of knew more than that, more than me, as well as the Bill and Melinda Gates. So don't forget that you can catch the audio-only versions of those shows, past GDPs, as well as the video right here. Well, actually, you can catch the audio-only anywhere you get your podcasts. Apple Podcasts, you got your Googles, your Overcast, your Spotify's. It's not just Joe Rogan on Spotify. There's other podcasts. It's I thought that would do a lot better for podcasts in general, Joe Rogan getting a deal like that, but it just means more celebrities got into podcasting. So, whoop-de-doo. But today, I'm excited about the weekend. We got a very busy Saturday coming up. I want to start out by saying happy birthday to Mr. Manny Santiago. He's 30 years old. He spent his 30th birthday hosting the open mic at the Comedy Zone, which is nice because then that gives everybody an opportunity to, at least he didn't have to buy his own drinks. Let's just say that. I hope he got home safely. I was talking to him today on the group chat for Falls Count Anywhere, and he was talking about he's I think or at least he joked about he didn't remember posting something, so he got home safely. At least he still has his phone. I don't think they allow you to have your phone in jail, so he didn't go to jail. So that's a successful 30th birthday. So happy birthday to Manny Santiago, wonderful man. Honestly, 30-year-old Manny Santiago, I feel like is going to be much like all of the other Manny Santiagos, but just a little bit in more pain. He's starting to gain all of the aching things that I think you get in your 30s, like I have a bad this, I have a bad that, and as a juggler with a bad elbow, I think he should start. He's a comedian. Let's just be comedy now. Just, no more throwing shit in the air. Your reflexes get, slower as you get older. I don't know. But happy Maniversary to Manny Santiago. Happy Maniversary. Actually, that kind of works. But the Falls Count Anywhere podcast is going to be, we're going to be recording tomorrow as well as Proper Ebonics. So it's going to be new episodes of that coming out on the channel. On Baby Mermaid Productions here on YouTube. And so if you want to check out those new episodes or the audio only wherever you have podcasts. I thought this was funny because we were talking about the loose tiger, not a slutty tiger, but like a tiger that was on the loose in Houston. There was a Bengal tiger. We played the video on Wednesday, and apparently they have identified the owner now. Since then, I've been following the story very closely. When there's a kitty cat loose, also, I did realize I'm very excited about this weekend, not only because of the new episodes of Proper Ebonics and Falls Count Anywhere that are coming out, but there's a UFC this weekend. The UFC this weekend is, however, this is where I get worried, in Houston. So there's a tiger on the loose somewhere in Houston, and there's professional fighters, but I just worry that the opportunity that I had at one point to officially turn Pat vs. Animal into a show is now it's officially going to happen, because if there's a tiger on the loose and there's a bunch of professional mixed martial artists walking around Houston with no masks. Also, CDC updated the thing coming up soon. I believe there will be if you're fully vaccinated, you don't have to wear your mask. So that's going to be, I think, a big shift for a lot of people. It's weird to say that, to say it now. I don't feel comfortable without it, when at the beginning of it, I was one of the people, I've admitted this multiple times on the show, I was one of the people that said I don't want to like, how dare you make us wear a mask, son of a bitch, blah blah blah. I even said it in that twang, so I had an accent when I was saying it. But there was it's an opportunity for it's it's a weird thing to like, if you just stop when you start having one of those thoughts again. That's what I've been preaching, is that's part of self-improvement, is on your way to trying to be react better. You're never going to be able to fully change I don't think, like, your really bad habits. I think especially around the age like where Manny, right at your 30s. Ray, I still didn't feel like an adult at 30. But like when I got into like 32, 33, then I'm like, oh, okay. It's not just the, oh, my body's older, I'm sore now. It's hard. Hangovers are a little tougher, whatever it may be. It's also the fact of like realizing like, oh, wait a minute, I see. Like there's like the whole the debt, the debt that doesn't go away. Realizing after a while, you're like, oh yeah, if I want to like own a house or something like that, I'm gonna have to like, I have to work at it. Eating better. I was talking about right before the show. I was texting with Andy Malafarina. Great show that we do every Sunday. We stream from his YouTube channel, Andy Malafarina. We stream What About with Andy and Pat. Last Sunday, we talked about Billy Talent, their first album. And then that just got us both so fucking hyped about Billy Talent that when he asked me what I wanted to talk about this week coming up on Sunday, I was like, fucking Billy Talent again. Let's talk about the second fucking album. So check that out on Andy's channel. If you're not already subscribed to him, subscribe to Andy Malafarina on YouTube. Hit the notification thing. And then on Sundays when we go live, you'll see it, as well as, hey, Ian, how's it going, buddy? You'll see that we are live, and you can pound off, same as always in any other shows that I do. And I want to, hold on, close this out, have this open. And again, if you, if you want to check that out, you can. Hold on. I want to make sure I have this open, the call thing, just in case. I don't know exactly. It looks like I missed a call, but they didn't leave a voicemail, so wouldn't that be a bitch if I fucking made this Google Voice number, again, 717-559-2971, and I already have like fucking telemarketers calling, but I don't think that's what that is. So I want to just make sure I have that up, just in case. I'm going to turn the volume down too, just in case. But yeah, I was talking to Andy about this right before the show. I have like, just eating healthier is such a fucking pain in the ass now, or just having to eat like I'm so, it's weird because I don't mean this to sound like a weird, I don't mean it to sound like any kind of brag at all, because it's really not a brag. It's just the fact, it's just stupid dumb luck. But because I drink like so much water, I don't fucking drink soda and stuff anymore, and because I train like 5 days, usually a week, either jiu-jitsu or MMA or something like that, for hours, it's usually I can eat literally anything I want. That, and then also intermittent fasting, and not only feel okay, but also like actually feel like I'm getting stronger. So I'm still able, and I don't. I'd like to say I don't eat that terribly, but I kind of do. It's not really any too much better, except for it's just less soda and maybe less total meals a day. But it's still terrible as far as like, I ate 8 tacos and I don't think a whole quesadilla. No, I think I ate 8 tacos and a whole order of chips and guac by myself from this taco place in Hanover. It was incredible. But it's like huge meals. So that's why anytime I feel like I'm phony. It's the same way Dom at one point had an issue with her thyroid, and she had, I think, the hyperthyroidism. She's talked about it. It's the one basically where it it gives you an overreactive metabolism. So she was getting like really skinny, and people were complimenting her, and she kind of knew that it was because of her thyroid. So it was weird when people were saying, I feel the same way I feel like she was when somebody would say, like, you look great. What are you doing? It's like, oh, I'm just sick. I have a hormone deficiency. My body's kind of off right now, but it's okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm glad I look good. But it's the same. I kind of feel the same way about, like, I'm sure that she did, was like, oh, people are like, man, you're fucking eating right. You're health. Like, nope, not really. Just better. I just shifted just enough so where I it improved that a little bit, like just barely noticeable. But I now I want to like kind of level up even more and go like, oh, what happens if I actually try to eat a little bit better? And it's so annoying, especially with intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting works for me personally because because it's like, oh, I get to eat whatever I want, but as long as it's between this hour and this hour, and then you make sure weird things like make sure you give yourself an hour after you eat before you go to bed, bullshit like that. But like all those, like, I shouldn't be making up rules or like ways that I can still eat like garbage. I should just try to eat a little bit better. So that's the thing. And plus, getting older, there's weird things that, like, oh, even though you're not like not just the insides part, like just like anything, your health like the insides of your fucking veins, where you start getting artery clogs and shit like that. That's stuff like that's weird. So I don't know if that's what he was thinking about, but we talked about it on Sunday about him trying to quit smoking, him trying to to quit, not quit, but like, pump the brakes with the drinking and all that stuff. It's funny because I think everybody's kind of realizing that coming out of quarantine, and it's almost exactly the same time for, I think, everybody at this point, because you kind of got used to that, or I at least got used to that, of 5 o'clock somewhere, or it's literally it's 5 o'clock, or even yesterday Dominique was like, oh, it's like 4:40 something, but she was off. And she's like, I'm gonna have a beer. Like, yeah, you're an adult. You can do it anytime you want. You could have had it at 11 o'clock in the morning. It's your day off. You can do whatever. It's a mini vacation. You can, if you don't have anything to do, fucking kick back. Now during quarantine, those days kind of start to meld together. You kind of start, all of the days feel like vacation days. I joked about that with I think when I used to do the shows a lot with Zach Hammond, I would go out on the road with him, and I would always eat and or act as if I was in vacation mode, like road trip mode. Oh, snacks for the road, all this. But like, I'm thinking, no, this, you have to try to be a little bit responsible, and I think that's where a lot of problems for healthy options. It's just planning ahead. Any of those things, anytime you hear a comic say like, oh, I hate going in whatever it may be, like anytime I go out on the road, there's nothing open after this time, so if I don't eat at the club, blah blah blah. But like, yeah, it sucks. There's a lot of times where you have to eat a fucking Walmart salad. There's the healthiest option, but there's usually ways around it. It sucks, but it really sucks to think have to get out of, again, essentially vacation mode, from being in quarantine, stuck at your house, eating comfort food and or whatever, because it's still fucking cold, but it's coming out of that, coming into, oh, now you don't have to wear masks, now you can be reintroduced to things. People are having more issues with people coming back from shows. I've noticed this. Almost every comedy show that I've been to or on since, like, things are coming back from quarantine, and like they're having fuller crowds and stuff like that, there's always one or two people that are like too drunk, or are like they haven't gotten their public drinking back into check. Ian's pounding off here, says portion control, meal prepping, and regulating your metabolism. Metabolism. metabolism, or big keys. Yeah, yeah, stuff like that. Like it's just fucking planning, just planning ahead. Shit like that is it's so interesting that just a little pivot like that is something you can still kind of eat like shit, but like as long as you have like portion control, just have a regulated piece of shit. Have like an acceptable amount of shit to eat, and then meal prepping. Get your shit ready a couple days ahead. Let everybody know. Hey, Thursday is meatloaf and whatever day, like whatever it may be, and then the metabolism. It was so funny. I started to argue, but then ended up just kind of giving up almost immediately with a friend of mine this morning, about like the benefits of drinking like cold, like a nice tall glass of cold water first thing in the morning within like a couple minutes of waking up. Not like oh like waking up, but like getting up out of bed and starting your day. How beneficial that really is. And he was like, it's not really that beneficial. I'm like, yeah, it is. Like, especially because I think we were on the subject of pooping in the morning. Yeah, no warning there. We're talking about poop right now. There's it's a weird thing that, like, it's. I'm not saying that it works. The problem I think I have a lot of times. Now, this is the same person that's talked shit about Bubba Burgers. This is the same person that's talked shit about that. I think that's like I've realized early on is like we just have very much a difference of opinion on most things. But I definitely have an issue with when somebody tells me that like something doesn't work or it's not whatever. It's not what it is, literally is for me. Like somebody who has experienced that, who like, oh, I've done that. He goes, I've had water. It doesn't do anything. And it's like, well, yeah, but first thing in the morning, when before you do anything else, a good way to kind of jumpstart your day is a nice tall glass of. It's like it's one of those things like if it doesn't hurt you, like how can you say that it's not beneficial? There's so much. It's such a weird thing to say like nah. When somebody is like started the sentence by telling you, hey, this works for me, just to be like that doesn't work. It's a weird thing that like it's kind of gotten me to the point where I'm like the past couple conversations I've had conversations with people like this. I think even Zach, we joked about it. I talked about it, even like the fact that the last conversation we had for the longest time was about like a fucking grocery store. And the reason I didn't really reach out to him was because I was like, oh, you talk shit about a grocery store I like. You know what I mean? There's a issue. I have weird grudges, but like that's kind of a thing where I'm like, man, are we even like friends? Are we even friendly? What's going on? You're telling me I like that water's not good for you. I don't even know. I feel like you're just arguing just to argue. But Ian's pounding off a little bit more. The caveman diet, which James Hetfield of Metallica did successfully, has a tall glass of cold water within 5 minutes of waking up as the only thing you consume for breakfast. Yeah. That's weird. I have the same breakfast as, well, James Hetfield, I don't know if he still has that or not, which Hetfield of Metallica did successfully. So if he did, I'm assuming you're not supposed to do that the whole time. Like it's probably for an amount of time. But there's like the carnivore diet. There's the ones where like you only eat this. You won't like it's. I learned early on, to dieting, like that. A lot of diets don't work. So I think there's a lot there's a lot to be said with like not giving up. I think the overall theme for dieting is like it's finding your diet, the one that works for you. But I would always kind of try to go So like I was somebody who, no matter how healthy I was living, I try to keep my diet the same my whole life because it's usually one of convenience. Like like eating fast food is not necessarily like, oh, I think it's so delicious or it's the best thing in the world. It's just the easiest, and I don't care if I live by myself and I could only eat what I consume or I make for myself. Then it would be most of the time canned vegetables, uh, steak and or like just meat, like chicken breast, something I can cook easily, bake or fry up easily, uh, and that's probably it. Maybe eggs, but there's not a lot of recipes that I do. I wouldn't make myself a carbonara or an alfredo unless it was an already made thing that you just warm up or you. Yeah, I don't. And it's not because I can't. I don't like it. I don't prefer reading a recipe and doing a thing. I really don't like that. It's something that gives me anxiety. I don't find it. I like if I'm making something, I go like, if it's weird. Like it's a weird thing that if somebody is teaching me a recipe, that's one thing. Or if it's like here's the elements, add the like certain amounts of these things to taste. Those are cool, like that combination or something. But if it's fry this, then take that out, strain it, put over here a teaspoon of this, a teaspoon of that, uh, I don't like that stuff. But baking, something that like you measure. So if I'm cooking, a lot of times this is a weird thing. So I like baking, but I don't like cooking, where you're doing all those things while you're doing it, as you're doing it. Whereas baking, you measure everything out, you mix this, then you mix this, then you mix them, and then you pour it here and you put it in there. That's what I like is step, then step, then step, boom. But if it's like cooking, where it's like, oh, you take this out now while this is going, put this on over here. I don't like that. I don't like having to plan multitasking. I don't mind like thinking on my feet is one thing, but like going like, okay, there's gonna be a lot of unforeseen things coming up. Look out. Also, if Dom gives me a recipe or she's like, hey, do you mind putting this together? I'll measure out all of the things ahead of time, and just because that makes it a little bit more. So that way I know when this part comes up, this is already here and it's already ready, and I have this cup and I don't have to like. I like being able to take my time. So who knows? Lifestyle and eating habits changes are more successful than dieting. Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing is I would try to say like the most convenient thing is eating this or doing that. So after a while, it's like the only diet plan that works for me, I realize, is baby steps. Baby steps is a thing that is no matter what. If it's like I want to quit soda, I want to quit candy or sweets, I want to quit this. It's like, okay, well then just pick one thing and try to cut it out. Like I did the same thing with smoking, where just trying to smoke less cigarettes in a day. And then also eventually I started buying. I think it was the last time. I can't remember if this is when I finally actually quit, but I bought like ultralights or something like that, and I hated those. So every time I smoked a cigarette, I hated it. And that was after a while of like just weaning myself down to like less cigarettes. Like just try doing less until you can cut it out. It's gonna be hard. If you do the thing like keto where you're like no sugar and then you just do that thing, then people are talking about like, oh, you feel sick and you feel like shit, but then you start feeling great again and all this stuff. Yeah, but you can also do that, like regulate it down to that point. I try to do it a little bit with caffeine. And I don't know, like even I feel like even with more sleep, there's still something where caffeine is just beneficial to me. I use it as a drug. I use it. It helps when if I have like with the last weekend when I had those shows and stuff like that. One of the shows
was after the show was done, there was then an hour and a half drive back home, and my fucking bedtime is usually around the time that the show was ending. So if I'm over an hour and a half away from being in my bed, then I'm gonna need a little pep. So if I time it right, I can still have like a later coffee in the afternoon. It's weird. I still think of it like that. It's still not necessarily like a, a drink choice. It turned almost immediately into a habit. Drinking coffee was I do enjoy it. Like I like having coffee, but I think of it as I like getting the thing that I need for the day in the place that I like. So when I have coffee in bed with Dom or something like that, that's one of my favorite things. It's one of my favorite places in the world. Is laying in bed with Dom or not even laying, because I guess you have to sit up when you have coffee, but sitting up in bed with Dom, just kind of both of us just kind of fucking around on Instagram or just going through our feeds, showing each other funny cat videos, whatever, sipping coffee and trying to avoid Stanley from attacking your feet or something like that. Or if the moons are completely aligned perfectly and they don't completely notice each other, Stanley and Chloe both on the bed on a nice Saturday morning, sipping coffee, nothing better. But I don't go like, ooh, my favorite coffee is... I still am not like a coffee lover. It's so weird to me. It's weird. So okay, so I truly and I'm very aware of this. I am addicted to coffee. But not in a fun like, ooh, gotta have my coffee. Love it. I'm not like a coffee addict. I'm like I feel like a real addict in the sense that like let's say a traditional alcoholic. Your run-of-the-mill alcoholic. They have... If you could... They would say, like, they don't necessarily prefer, but if they don't have a choice, they'll drink whatever is available. But if they could have the top shelf, they'll have the top shelf. And they'll enjoy it, but it's enjoying it as, like, oh, I'm getting that life force, that thing that I need, and it's the best tasting version of it. Yeah. I do prefer better coffee over shitty coffee. And I will go if I know that there's something else available. But if it's like, oh, we're going to be on the road. Zach is not a big coffee guy. So if I'm on the road with him and he's driving, I don't want to put him out and say like, hey, go out of the way. We're in West Virginia. Go to the other side of the state so we can go to a Starbucks. Like, Tim Hortons is fine in any port in a storm, McDonald's iced coffee is not bad. But I don't... if I'm going to drink it, I'd like to just make it myself. But I realize that it is if I don't have it, I will get sick. So that's stuff like that concerns me. So I do reassess, so much like Andy saying like, hey, I'm a little bit older, maybe how Manny should too. You're in your 30s now, bud. You can't just live on gorditas alone. I wish you could. And I really was trying to find that realm. It's not just... It's because I really do enjoy Hardee's. I really do enjoy Arby's. I do. Those are two fast food chains that it's not just sustenance. Those are two fast food chains that I truly enjoy. I don't mind a nice Wendy's cheeseburger. I like it. But I was trying to say, like, oh, can I still eat like this? And then if I exercise enough and take enough vitamins and cut out all the bad shit that I can. I don't smoke cigarettes anymore. I don't drink soda. I barely drink soda. Even the highest thing. So, but caffeine's not good for your heart, and fast food is not good for your heart. So like I'm doing that shit where I'm like, he was healthy. I don't understand, because everybody says that, and that makes me feel like I'm headed for that statistic. I'm headed for that thing where everybody goes, he was so healthy. He was like, yeah, he used to be overweight, but I don't want it to be like he was on his way to being. He just won this health competition. Is there a health competition? He just won healthiest man in the world. But I don't want it to come down to that be to have the like a widowmaker or something, or like a fucking strokes and heart attacks are two things that I think of, and those are the things that are, even though you're not showing, if you're like, oh wow, Pat, your bones are very strong, your blood pressure is good. It always made me very self-conscious when I did go to the doctor when I was younger, or even anytime I would go to even the hospital, and they'd go, when I was in the hospital for surgery for my foot a couple years and years ago, they almost every doctor that saw me or would ask me for updates or whatever, they come in and they say, so are you diabetic? And I go, nope. And they go, really? And they'd still test my blood sugar. And then when it would come up kind of normal, they'd be like, huh. I'd be like, yeah, I drink diet soda. Thanks. But I don't think, I think like Ian was talking about earlier, like lifestyle, eating habits, trying different diets is fine, but like it's mainly just your lifestyle. Just find what works for you. And this has been working. This has worked for me to this point, but I've realized I've plateaued. I feel comfortable where I am. I don't necessarily need to go, but I want to go further. I want to lose a little bit more weight. I want to be a little bit healthier. It's not that I don't enjoy it. I'm gonna miss eating like a piece of absolute dog shit. And not that I'm completely done with it. Again, baby steps. Yesterday was it yesterday? Yeah, I think it was either yesterday or the day before. I've gone down to where I went back to I'm trying to think. It's not necessarily. I don't think it. Maybe he's officially cemented it as a method that he's perfected. But Bill Burr's advice, I remember from years ago from listening to his podcast: eat one big leafy green salad a day. That's always a good thing. That means you're doing some good. So if you have one, and that means not like Caesar salad, not like something like green leaf, like so spinach. We use as spring mix. We have arugula, and I like that. So it's always fun to like. That's why it's cool to try healthier foods, because once you find stuff that you like, you can like toss it into shitty days to make yourself to salvage that day. So yesterday, I was helping a buddy of mine work in Hanover, and he usually grabs lunch. So he got some tacos, and again, I the 8 taco guacamole order that I ate before, real piece of shit move. I think 2 days earlier in the same place. I was working there a couple days earlier, and so I was like, all right, well, fuck, I gotta try to be a little bit better with this one. So less guacamole, only 4 tacos this time. Pretty good, not bad. But then I was like, oh God, I gotta salvage this. So at dinner time, big green leafy salad, very little dressing. There you go. But I'm not. I want to try to be better at that. So I'm back to that stage, baby stepping it back to eating healthier. Wish me luck. I hope. Trying to get a summer body, trying to get that summer bod, because the cicadas are coming. We got a cicada summer, and it's better than white boy summer, I think. Also, there's a fuck ton of apparently there's a lot happening in between Israel and Palestine, I guess. Surprise, surprise, guys. Those two don't like each other again, or still, or it's I don't know how to say it. Like I've this like every other issue. Mainly, not since social media, since more social media platforms have come up and more people are sharing their opinions. There are more than just this side and that side. There have been a lot more sides to a lot more things, including the pandemic. And I want to say since social media, but it's been focused way more since during the pandemic. So I'm aware that it's on trend. It's trending this way, but definitely during the lockdown and since like George Floyd, a lot of that stuff. It's not just cops, not cops, or cops, Black Lives Matter. It's like cops, Black Lives Matter, and then this, and then also this. And I know those sides have been there, but they're all growing. It's all getting to that side. But Palestine and Israel has been a feud that I feel like I've known my whole life. Has always been peace in the Middle East. That's always been kind of a running thing of there will never be peace in the Middle East, or that's things that people wish for. So I've known that there's been conflict, and it's been going on for so long that I've even seen a lot of times I've seen a new thing of not why are we supporting this or why are we supporting that, or they're still picking even people that are not even there or even in this it's just a thing that people have always argued about. They always have a side. And but now I've seen a lot more in my timeline of people and some people of like Middle Eastern descent that I understand why they want people to be educated, but now it's like, guys, educate yourself on what the thing is going on. It's over the book. It's over their books. It's their books and their hats. They feel entitled to land because of their religions, or they're fighting because of or one of them is fighting because of the other one's religion. But all I've been seeing has been, and that's the thing, is I pledge over this weekend to try to actually find out like what. It's just because of that. Because I saw this is how removed it's even become. I have no idea where this guy was. I think he was in the conflicted zone, the wherever it's happening. That it's an Australian guy just walking around, and he's saying like, "Do you think it's bad that Palestinians can't come over here?" And talking to Jewish people, and it's like I feel like I could probably guess what their feelings are on it. I don't think, but they're also kind of like, hey, it's no, it feels like it could be anywhere. I don't know where this video was, but it feels like it could be anywhere when you just go up and you just ask a really like you know that you're going to piss off a huge section of a population. And they're Jewish. They were Jewish people. They had their hats on, and then they had their little things here, and they're wearing their clothes. For people to argue this long over religion, I don't want to educate myself more on your make-believe thing that you believe in, that you think is more important, or anybody else's make-believe thing, because like I kind of feel like at this point, when the footage has gotten so much better because technology has advanced so much so that there's somebody sitting on their fucking balcony filming this on an iPhone and it's coming out. The only footage we had when I was a kid was always like either, and maybe it was kept from us. I don't know. And that's the point, is there's so many more. There's been so many other advancements in society, but you're still just arguing over goddamn books and land and things. And it's like, I don't, god damn it, man. Like, so much so that I think that when you're able to, I feel like when the argument has been the exact same and you're able to now watch footage of it on a computer that you pulled out of your pocket, like, update the fucking argument at least, I don't know. It's just gotten to this point of like, It's just hats and books, man. Like when there's a silly hat argument or a silly book argument, I don't empathize with that, and I don't think that I empathize with people that's their home, and that's like I could not even imagine the like how many people that live there maybe that like me, like that's a way to like to try to put myself in that situation of like, yeah, you should just leave, you should do no. I'm just saying like the people that are like, man, I just want to fucking exist here. I just want to exist and not bother other people. I don't care about your belief. I can just have my beliefs and do my thing. And like coexisting in that sense of it when it comes down to like you're reading just ancient words. So it's when this is coming up, when you're telling me that there's conflict in the Middle East and Palestine, and they have the things where I'm watching iPhone footage of like of missiles being sent over this way, and then all these anti-missile things coming up, and then just destroying all those missiles, and then it's like, so you're even acknowledging that technology exists, that there's you're just wasting resources and money and things on to just blow to set off fireworks. Essentially, it's all just bleh. You're just doing this in between. You're just giving a fireworks show to everybody, and there's just ignorant. It's so fucking stupid to continue to argue that having the same argument but with just more and more advanced technology and not realizing the irony. Like fucking like update your thinking a little bit. And then people are arguing about it over here. And there's things where it's like, so I just wish people would stop having opinions on everything. And that's me sharing my opinion about it. It's your silly books. That's like when you share that. So now I've shared this. This is the point of that I wanted to reiterate is if you have a thought of a thing, right? Like I go GDPLive, we're going to talk about this and this. I open it up to anything because I want to be able to say I feel this is rooted in experience, in actual thought and consideration, and it's not just well, they should. I understand that people have their beliefs and that they hold their like. I think people that believe a statue has any more importance than just being stone. But I understand that. I think that if that's a thing that you hold so dear, like you should question that a little bit sometimes. And I don't think that anybody in this scenarios where, like, say you really, really, like, if you think it's really in the book, like, they obviously are reading a book that says otherwise. So at some point, wouldn't you, like, go, like, maybe we should, like, couldn't we just, like, read this again? It doesn't seem like faith to me. It just seems like being stubborn. And that's something that I know. That's something that I, like, this is my opinion right now. And that's the thing. The reason I share my opinion or the reason I share my thoughts or feelings, it's because I want it to be, it's never intended to say your opinion is necessarily wrong. It's saying that when you put so much into it, like anytime I start feeling so much about something that it starts like changing my physical, like I have to acknowledge like, whoa, okay. So I'm getting angry. Am I angry? Do I understand what this is? So like I get somebody wanting to say like educate yourself on what the conflict is. So when I see something like that and I go like, oh, it's just a bunch of silly hats and books, I go, okay, you know what? You're right. Not necessarily that my opinion is wrong, but I'll try that out. But also, why isn't it ever, you're using such advanced warfare at this point. You're using such advanced thinking and like anti-aircraft things and fucking planned like they're like it's almost like a stalemate at this point. That I and it's been such a long time. Like they will justify anything to bring that continued conflict up instead of just like literally whenever you're just coexisting is it the worst thing in the world? Like there's you know what I mean? Like there's such a fucking I don't know. It's there is other things that have been explained in the past for religion. I do have specific thoughts and feelings about organized religion or doing things in the name of God or stuff like that, like bad things. But I realize a lot of that is subjective as well. But it doesn't mean it's really hard to say like to say if the reason that wish that was such a stigma or such a known thing when I was growing up of like we need peace in the Middle East, we need fucking that was always like an ongoing thing is because like it just feels like the same thing that people say about it. Like I feel like America, it's like an over. We need change. We need acceptance. We need unity. We need this. We need that. Like nobody ever says we need to be more divided. Nobody ever says that, but we never show it. It's never like shown. So anytime this side says like they go like okay, like I never assume that there's not conflict in the Middle East when they're not reporting on it. But anytime I see them like actively like covering some kind of conflict in the Middle East, I don't necessarily always feel like I'm gonna get a new story. It feels like it's just a repeated story over and over again. And I'm at the point now where it even if they are right, even if there is one side that's right, I feel like I kind of feel like you could give it just, try something else. Just try like literally anything else. And not in a I don't know, man. It's just so weird. It's such a strange thing to still see. It's like how I felt about this is a really weird comparison, but it's like how I felt about when people started telling me about like Schitt's Creek and about how funny Eugene Levy is and how look at this. We got a call.
Call from
Kenny Robb.
Oh, Kenny Robb. Hey, how's it going?
Press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
I'm gonna accept that. Kenny Robb.
Hey.
Hey, buddy. How's it going, buddy?
Doing?
Good to see you or hear you.
Yeah, I'm hearing your podcast.
Hell yeah, buddy.
Are you on now?
Yeah, I'm on right now.
Yeah, I was saying in 03, Bush said mission accomplished.
Right.
And they sent us over there as comedians.
Mm-hmm.
And I went over and performed over in the Middle East for a month. And I'm going to tell you, there wasn't one day I was safe.
Oh, really?
There wasn't one day I was safe.
And so that's the thing is like you say mission accomplished, you say okay, we did it, we got peace,
right?
And then they go like, all right, go ahead, you're safe to go in. It's kind of like how a lot of people go like, hey, look, the coronavirus is our numbers are down, we can just go ahead, you're good.
Well, the coronavirus is really funny because last month we're still in the danger zone.
Mm-hmm.
This month it's we're running out of money. We're going to shut down unemployment, and then they said, "Hey, you can go back to work now. It's all good now."
Yeah.
I was like, "Listen, you can't push and pull America."
Yeah. Yeah.
At a whim, when it suits you. You know, when it was okay to shut the country down, you shut it down.
Right.
But now that everybody's getting used to being shut down,
Right.
there's a problem.
Right. It feels
Because-
like it's like cyclical. Like it's just going around over and over again. Like you can't necessarily, you have to respect our mental state and our ability to like to accept this shit. Like they're talking about things that are affected over long term during COVID shutdowns, like where like your memory, like a lot of people have like, not just people that got coronavirus, but people that have been on lockdown or on, you know, unemployment or anything like that. Like there's certain things that you've gotten used to or anything like that, and your memory, even like your memory capacity or whatever, is lowered the longer time you're in shutdown. So like you're asking people to come back and just, you know, get back to functioning as normal. It's kind of like, whoa, you know, we gotta baby step it back into this shit. Like we gotta.
Well, and you have to even just not only your mental, not only your physical, your memory, but I'm just like your physical memory.
Yeah.
Like your muscle memory.
Yeah, muscle memory. Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. Well, even stuff like that. Well, how long were we shut down from being able to go on stage and shit like that? It's tough.
And let me tell you something. We were shut down, and I had did something with Ron, and he said, "Can you do like 25 minutes?" Right?
Mm-hmm.
I was exhausted. I mean, we're talking about a person who could do an hour.
Yeah. You're
in
not,
25 minutes, I was exhausted.
Yeah, I think that's a thing where you, because it's even the adrenaline and stuff like that. There's a lot of, you have to have that kind of. It's not just being stimulated like mentally, but it's also, I get excited. A friend of mine's coming over to visit on Saturday, and I haven't seen him in, like, even before the shutdown. It was probably months before I'd seen him, but now I'm excited, but I'm also like, I'm a little anxious. I'm a little like, there's like a weird like adrenaline shit that you get with even like doing like getting re-entered into normal stuff.
Because we're playing Russian roulette.
Yeah.
Like whatever the government says about the vaccinations, but we all know COVID's real.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen people die. We have loved ones who died. We know it's a thing. You know.
Yeah.
But we play Russian roulette because, like me and you, Pat, like if I'm in the mall, you're in the mall, we got our mask on.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as we walk into the comedy zone and sit across from each other,
yeah,
mask comes off.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is, I thought it was funny because I think that the same thing with it's funny because you're talking about the government, like with the trusting them or anything like that.
Right.
I've always had the thing where it even that has kind of turned into a side battle. Like it used to be where I used to say, you know, I don't know, man, I can't trust the government. And then, but I felt like with this particular version of it, I would, when the vaccine comes out and they say, okay, we got this done, I'm also going like, oh, I can't trust the government. But I'm a lot older now. That like I kind of got out of the politic game for a little bit. When this was coming back up, I'm like, that old feeling started coming up with like the mask thing and everything. And I go like, oh, I can't do that. I can't trust them. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I'm also not at all educated on any of this shit. So it kind of comes down to now that I'm a little bit older, my distrust is still there a lot of times with this. But I'm also like, yeah, but also what the fuck do I know? So it comes down to when somebody was saying when you sit across from somebody, you can take your mask off, or when you're at a restaurant, you can take your mask off. I was like, yeah, I don't know. Does that make any sense? Yeah, you know,
it makes no sense.
It makes no sense, but it's also like, yeah, whatever. You know, it kind of comes down to I'm also not an expert, and also I think people were hearing that differently. they're like, oh, so if I'm ordering drinks, it means I'm impervious. Like, no. Ordering drinks is incentive for the establishment to stay open. You
Right.
taking your mask off is when you have a drink, you can take your mask off. But when you're done with that, you're supposed to put it back on. So at least for Dom and I, when we go to the Comedy Zone, we pretty much keep our mask on while we're there, except for when we're actively eating or drinking.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so I totally appreciate the the candidness of being like, like, look, man, I you can't always trust what people are telling you. You were told mission accomplished. Go ahead, you're safe. You're told it's safe to do this. Go ahead. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you can't always have faith in religion. Sometimes you do have to have faith in the fact that people aren't always trying to screw you over.
Right. And so I always say, we want to trust the government.
Yeah.
I mean, and we do. We want to believe that the government has our best interests at heart.
Yeah.
And so we become very gullible and vulnerable
Mm-hmm.
at the same time.
Yeah.
In terms of the government.
Yeah. I can totally see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And at some
But-
point, it is being vulnerable and gullible sometimes can be mistaken for having faith in. You know what I mean? Sometimes you have to being it's different words for putting your faith into something, and not saying that like being faithful or anything like that is being gullible, but it is that I think that's why it hurts when people are in like a marriage and because you have faith in that person's faithfulness.
That they're going to do the right thing.
Yeah, like you in their best judgment. So I think that's why. But I don't feel like that ever really happens in government and or religion. I don't think a lot of times people have that unless they have a tragedy that happens to them personally. You know what I mean? Sometimes people can lose faith in a religion if they suffer a personal tragedy, or sometimes. But I feel like it's so few and far between in government and in religion. Like, people have this faith that it's just this undying faith of, I'm a Republican, I gotta always support Republican shit. I'm a Catholic, I always have to support Catholic stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
nobody
And
can
so-
ever think for themselves and also have faith. It's one or the other a lot of times.
And so they never, I guess for argument's sake, I would say I'm a Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
But I would be lying if I said I agreed with everything the Democrats did, and I would be lying if I said I disagree with all things Republicans did.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that I stand firm on that has almost made me switch my party at one time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so you have to with anything, you have to get your own information.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's
and
that's interesting. Yeah, so like that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No. I mean, we have to do our own research, our own homework. Even in religion, as much as people don't want to admit everything, it just says, you should study. You should study for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, find it for yourself.
Yeah. If you
just don't take the look, I'm a preacher, but don't just take the preacher's word. Study for yourself. If that, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like this beat all to beat all.
Right.
And so people just want to just blindly take somebody's word.
Right.
Well,
And-
that's where the gullibleness of life is.
I guess you're right. Yeah, the gullible. Maybe that's it. Is almost having something proven incorrect, and then you're still showing faithfulness in that. If you have that
Right.
kind of thing, maybe that's where the gullible, because that's the thing is I feel like if there is anytime somebody is so adamant, and I know this isn't in a lot of religions or denominations or anything like that, but if if they aren't saying like this other religion is wrong, this is the only right one. It's like they have their own peaceful denominations. There's tons of denominations of Christians that don't necessarily actively talk crap about other denominations. But when you have
Right.
when your religious beliefs are at least how the majority of the people are determining them are justifying you hurting or harming other people, then I have to say
I draw the line.
there is a wrong. Yeah, I feel like then I have to say yes. I think that maybe your religion is wrong, and that's the thing where it's and not saying that you should not have that, but maybe you should just reassess and maybe reread it, or have a new generation read your text, and maybe the new generation will say, because there are young woke Muslims. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
and from what I've been led to believe, not on doing any research whatsoever, but that it's not necessarily geared to a lot of the woke ideals that I've heard. You know what I mean? So it's interesting that makes me feel like, oh, I want to actually do some more research to go like, okay, so it can be read, in a way that is not justifying throwing gay people off roofs. You know what I mean? Like, so how do we do that, and how do we do that for all religions so everybody can just have their beliefs and not have to harm people in the name of their belief?
Listen,
Right?
I get so nervous because you never know if I tell somebody I'm a minister of the gospel, how offended they will be,
Mm-hmm.
and try to do something to me.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's just so wrong.
Yeah, we see that in our country too. We see that how many churches of again different denominations have been attacked or targeted, and whether it be because of the religion or just because of just somebody mentally ill hating religion.
Well, let's go one step further, Pat.
Mm-hmm.
The Ku Klux Klan's base organization is a Christian organization.
Oh dear. Is that,
you know what I mean?
Isn't that is that a denomination of like Baptist or something like that?
Just Christian, just as Christian.
Wow.
Or maybe even Southern Baptist. Who knows?
So what is the burning of the crosses? Wouldn't that be counterintuitive? Isn't that the sign of worship to them?
Exactly.
Oh, so I just beat it already? I just destroyed the Ku Klux Klan just like that? Holy shit. Yeah, that's really stupid. If they're Christian and they're burning crosses, isn't that it's like the same way I feel about patriots that have patriots, quote in quotes, that have American flags that they've defaced, or you're not supposed to, deface an American flag or wear it like a shirt or have it outside even after dark. You're not supposed to have it in the rain. You're supposed to take it in. Like when you see that stuff, you're like, wait, or a Confederate flag or anything like that. You're like, wait, you have an American flag and a Confederate flag? So it's the same idea as that. They're a
Correct.
Christian organization that burns the symbol of their organization.
Right.
Wow.
And I'm going, you got to be kidding me.
That does not make any sense for sure.
We're Christians,
Mm-hmm.
but because you're black, you can't be a Christian, and we're going to burn your church.
Yeah, that to me that's a anytime that you are burning. So even still, they're saying that you're I don't understand the justification of that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand. I'm trying to understand. Like, I didn't know, I guess, the irony of it, of the fact that
Right.
they also they identified themselves as Christian. I thought, much like, I think the Nazis were not religious based, right? Is that correct?
The Nazis?
Yeah, weren't they of?
No, their religion was they just the
was nationalism.
Right.
Right.
They are just the superior race.
I thought Ku Klux Klan was the same way. I thought maybe they were like a Confederate version of that. I didn't
Ku
realize
Klux
that they had
Klan
religion at all.
they have the swastikas, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're considered a Christian based organization.
I had no idea. I really did not know that. I figured there's a lot of, undercover. Hey, that is the to me immediately as soon as you say you're a religious person that says, yeah, I think war is okay. Yeah, I think killing this type of person because they're that type of person is okay. You know what I mean? Like any of that stuff, any kind of, it just to me it sounds so for lack of a better word, silly to be like, oh, I'm in a hate group and I'm also religious. What?
Right.
It always caught me off guard. That's why I think, like I said, I think it's funny that something like a group that's like maybe believes that, like, I don't know, again, there what is justified under Christian, or not Christian, but like Islamic rule as law. You know what I mean? Like what is considered that, what's interpreted, and what is actually part of it. Because if you just take what, obviously, if there's if the the KKK, I'm gonna stop trying to pronounce it. The KKK is considers themselves a Christian organization. If that's what you thought of Christians, then yeah, I can understand you thinking Christianity is a hate group or whatever. Just like you would think the same way I used to think about Muslims, of like, there can't be any woke Muslims. I thought they hate women and they throw gay people off the. No, that's just the worst believers of that group.
Correct.
Carrying out their beliefs.
Correct.
Right. So,
now, like you always have overzealous people in any of your religious organizations.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just, and that's just what they do. You know,
yeah.
And the Old Testament is proof of that. It was a lot of war in the Old Testament.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of war. So, documented history wars. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
there's a lot of wars fought in the name of religion, and I think it's very funny that is hand in hand. Now, considering what my existence has been, I think about my short time on this earth. And I think about, like, not just the privileged in the sense of, like, my race or my place in society, but, like, literally just the fact that how little violence I've had to experience in my lifetime. How little of my, and I'm just talking about as just a being in America. Like, how violent the history has been of over all of the years. Like, the fact that a lot of the terrible things that have been happening and a lot of the unrest that it seems been happening, I just feel like I'm not even necessarily that nervous anymore. Now I'm just at the point where I'm like, well, it's been good. I also have allergies now too, so I obviously things are going downhill. I better bunker up and get some supplies.
Well, it was, as I was growing up in Harrisburg, uptown Harrisburg. It was almost a rite of passage with violence.
Yeah. Was it
like you weren't always going to get off the playground without being in a fight?
Was it always racially charged, or was it? I mean,
no.
Was it religious? Was it sports?
No.
Was it
no. I was just speaking on violence in itself.
Just in general.
Amongst ourselves.
Yeah. That
there was going to be a fight.
Yeah. I'm so separated from that in general. Like even fist fighting, anything like that. Like it would almost be like it's not that it's a wanted thing by me. But it's the thing of, like, it's still like you still need that challenge sometimes, I feel like, because that helps with growth. Like, you got to do that amount of growth that early on, and you learned a lot from that would help you. That's helped you get to this point and to gain the perspective you have. Like, it's weird to say that, but there is a lot of education that can be gained through violence, but it's just about like how much you actually have to take in before you're ready.
Right, like when I was downtown one time with some of my coworkers,
Mm-hmm.
and a bunch of young kids, and they were black, and they came down the street, and they were walking. They were loud, and they were a little rambunctious. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I could see the white people that grew up in Western Pennsylvania.
Mm. Yeah, yeah,
I could see them just almost losing it.
yeah.
But what I didn't realize is they also saw me starting to posture because I've seen this before.
Yeah.
And I can't let them see any fear.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, 2 different backgrounds, 2 different reactions.
Yeah. And yeah, because because you know that something's about to or that something could happen. Potential. There's potential for something. I think the same way anytime I'm at a group or I'm with a group of people and they're like a drunk person walks up and starts talking to the group, it's always like, I never know, because or even as simple, let's just say, like, take the drunk aspect out of it, even the fight aspect out of it. Anytime I go to dinner or go out to eat with somebody I haven't eaten with, and I know this has been brought up on and multiple times in conversations, I'm sure, but like anytime I go out to eat and I haven't eaten with somebody, I don't know how they're going to treat the staff, any of that stuff. Like, you don't know how this person is, how this person functions in public. So like the same way with that, when you see a group of people and then you see another group of people, you're like, boy, oh boy, you're just observing it. Like, you feel kind of helpless, but also you're like, also I need to figure out what I'm going to do because it's going to happen here right now. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's gonna if it happens, it's gonna happen right now. We got Karen pounding off here. By the way, Karen says hi, Kenny.
Hi, Karen.
And she says the burning of crosses came from the Scottish origin. It was a declaration of war, apparently.
Okay.
See, and that's
look. Tell her I said the lawyer.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, she's on break from studying right now, so she's educating us. She just can't help but just learn stuff all the time, this lady. But yeah, I think overall, like, and I actually, you know what? To be completely honest with you, Kenny, I think it's awesome the fact that you're a person who, and that's what I like about you said you're a preacher, right?
Yes.
You guys, you're like the head of the church, and you're able to like marry and have a family and stuff, right?
Right.
That's the one that I think, if I was to pick a Christianity religion to go with, I always said, like, if I ever picked a religion to gravitate to, it would be Buddhism. Right. I would always go to Buddhist because Buddhism also allows you to practice other religions. I always like that. But I would say if I was to pick a Christianity, I would pick the one that let the head of their church still live like a regular.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it is.
But you know the funny thing about that is.
What?
Like the Catholics, they hold Peter in such a high esteem. Saint Peter.
Mm-hmm. Peter
was married.
Yeah. So why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't that? Because isn't it something like the foundation of their church is built on something like that?
Now we're going to talk about that irony stuff again.
Isn't it weird that it's always, it seems to be a lot of times with that, like, you can adapt a lot of things, but there has to be I have no problem with there being tradition and or Like, this is how this thing works. I get it.
But
That's
it
fine.
has to make sense.
But it has to make sense. Like, if you can't say justifiably, like, okay, this is the rule, like, how do you justify a thing that I always found interesting was my wife's mom's side of the family, and she kind of grew up in it, was a Jehovah's Witness. They have a thing where they don't celebrate birthdays. Do you know why they don't celebrate birthdays?
No, I don't.
It's because the only time that there was a birthday, I believe, featured in the Bible, somebody died. That's it.
Somebody.
And I was like,
That's
really?
why you don't believe?
And that's what I'm saying. It's like sometimes I feel like a lot of the denominations kind of pick this thing where they're like, okay, this is, but there has to be, at least with that, I go, okay. You know what I mean? Like so then you just think but they also don't believe in superstition. I beg to differ.
I don't, now I can say this. Me personally, I don't believe in superstitions either.
Yeah. But they obviously do, because they made a rule about a superstition that they have about the only birthday being featured in the Bible. There's nothing in the Bible that says you can't celebrate birthdays. There's nothing in there that says you can't celebrate Christmas or New Year. Their conflict with Christmas is the fact that they say, actually, Jesus, they nerd it up. Actually, Jesus wasn't born in December. He was actually born in around July. And I'm like,
correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So why can't you just, sometimes you celebrate birthdays on a different day. Sometimes that's when you can get the family together.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? But there's still justifications for a lot of the, like, there's at least a rule. Like, when you say our number one guy, the number one person we love the most is this Peter guy, we're going to do it so much that we build the foundation of our church on him. And then when we do that, we're also going to say, by the way, you can't live like him. You can't even.
Right.
What the hell?
Irony.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. You can't have in Jehovah's Witness world, you were able to smoke until until the 80s, I think. And I feel like I was like, okay, so the leader of the Jehovah's Witnesses quit smoking and he didn't want anybody smoking around him. That's what it sounded like.
That's what it sounds like.
Oh no, we reread the text. But at least, like I said, at least Jehovah's Witnesses will go in and they'll change a rule every couple years. They'll do something a little different.
They will change a rule on you.
And you know what I mean? Like, at least, hey, look, at least that's a thing that's you would like to believe growing and adapting. But like when you're coming down to like priests to this day still aren't able to marry. Like it's so weird. It's like,
and yet they're the highest in molestation.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's cause and effect. So you have a problem, you have a solution, a possible solution. Like, even give it 2 years and just see if it goes down a little bit. But I think
right. Let me openly be with somebody.
Right. Let there be some kind of physical contact allowed, and it not be such a solitary thing. But and that's another thing that's
and we ain't gonna talk about all the nuns that's been pregnant.
Yeah, I was just about to say, like, you have a whole other counterpart of the religion that's something that I didn't agree with in Jehovah's Witness beliefs. Anytime that church, because I told her there was an issue when we first got together of her family being Jehovah's Witness and me not. So I told her, splash whatever fucking water you want on me, go for it. You can turn me into anything you'd like. I'll switch to it. You know what I mean? Like, if that makes it easier, I'll just switch to your religion. And she's like, well, you can't really. You gotta. So I studied, and I read with I did all that stuff, and every time I found out that women weren't ever allowed to be elders in the church, and I was like, why? Like, what do you like? Her mom in particular was so devout that she didn't even come to our wedding until Dominique was reinstated back into Jehovah's Witness world. So, like, how can that level of devotion not be met with, wow, you've sacrificed so much, you get to be somebody that makes decision in this congregation? They never let them do that. And I was like, even Catholics give some amount of authority to women. You know what I mean? Even if it is as a nun. You know, it just didn't. It never seemed like there was a. And there, if correct me if I'm wrong. Can there can be lady preachers, right?
Yes.
Right, and that's something I'm like, okay, so why not ever change? And I think that's just kind of Catholics' MO, you know?
Right. Well, here's the thing. God can use anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Bible says, if you're not going to praise, I'll let the rocks cry out and praise my name.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But don't, you who have breath in your lungs should be thankful for your existence.
Right. I always think it's interesting. Yeah, I always think it's interesting when people punish people on behalf of God. You know?
Right. And God is such a, I'm not saying God doesn't have a wrath.
No, yeah, absolutely.
but he's also a forgiving God.
Mm-hmm.
But we are not a forgiving people.
No. No. We definitely do not live as like you say that kind of thing of like I love the thing of like only God can judge you, only God can do that. I do appreciate that, but that's essentially what elders are in Jehovah's Witness congregations, is essentially they're speaking on behalf of him, like saying like, well, this is how we think he would take it, so this is how we're going to punish you.
So let's just say me and you, let's just say you were a member of the church, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I knew you were cheating on your wife.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not going to sit there and browbeat you.
Right.
But I will pull you to the side and say, hey, Pat, you know what I mean? I know you messing with Elizabeth. You know, that's not cool, man.
Yeah.
That's not cool.
Right. 'Cause it's supposed to be supportive.
Now, if you held a position like a deacon in the church,
mm-hmm.
then I would probably say, hey, listen now, I'm not putting you off the deacon board, but you need to handle your personal affairs first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Before you serve again in front of the people.
Right. Because
and then when it gets out, then they're saying, well, he's a deacon and he's, you know what I mean?
Right.
So at least let's take care of this first.
Yeah, you've at least taken steps to improve, because that's the thing is nobody is perfect. Nobody is infallible. Nobody is infallible. Nobody. So like to ever say that one person should be held at a different standard, even, let's just say even as a religious educator, that's essentially what the speaker would do. The priest, the preacher, anybody. You are the representative of the church. You are a
Correct.
representative. So yes, you do need to have but that also means addressing when you do make mistakes correctly and not waiting for somebody to find them, like you said. If
right.
you're somebody that's to say like, look, man, I'm not here. I'm not TMZ. I'm not here with a camera in your face saying, hey, what are you going to do because we found out you're cheating? We're going to blackmail you. Or no.
Right,
this isn't a blackmail.
We're going to make you feel worse than you already do.
Right. This is a thing where people shouldn't be like, okay, you're a priest. You have sexual desires. If you have sex with a nun, that shouldn't be an issue of like scandal and we're going to do this and you're how dare you do, like, if we could just adapt somewhat, you could have a thing where there's not everything is so guilt driven. And I think that's what draws people from a lot of churches and religions in general is the same thing that keeps you from going to the dentist. Is one of the first things that they say when you get there is you haven't been here in a while. If you just take that aspect out of church, if you take that thing of, oh, Brother Pat, I haven't seen you in 8 months. Like, it'd be like, oh, well, yeah, well, I had a lot of stuff going on. You know, like, if you just take that aspect out of, hey, Brother Pat, it's good to see you again. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Then if there is anything in there, like, I feel like that's a huge aspect of it. And I do appreciate when people can just, like, take themselves out of it sometimes. Like you can,
Well, yeah,
you know.
because we have to,
Yeah.
and we have to understand that we are human.
Yeah. I think that's
And I don't think that's always. I don't think it's always done.
people are one of my favorite things that I've said that I forgot that I said that then fellow comic and friend Brandon Youngblood reminded me that I said was people love the truth whenever it's not about them. You know,
Right.
you love it, it's a situation where if the priest cheated on his wife or the deacon was cheating on his wife or something like that, it should be how dare he's the deacon. No, he's just a human man that's in the deacon's clothes. Like he's in deacon clothes. He's just a dude like you. So if you've ever had that thought or that feeling, like you're just one mistake or one action away from being that guy the same way. It's he's no different. He's those same feelings and
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, but so even in speaking in that in the concept of comedy, I tailor a lot of my jokes that I feel better telling
Mm-hmm.
versus than all the old jokes I used to tell.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I got so much more material I could be throwing out there that I just need to go ahead and give it away because I don't do those jokes anymore.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you always have the option of you could just record them and put it out on YouTube. You put it out there for free, you know. Put them.
Right.
But I see what you mean. Yeah, I see that thing of tailoring. We got some. We have a little bit of pounding here. Casey says, "Splash me in the face with the religious juice. That's love." So, yeah. And then Ian says, Casey, that's my favorite thing for a girl to say during sex. That's gross, of course. But
Oh, Lord.
that's right on brand for Ian. And she says, that is also love. Ha ha. So,
That is also love.
But yeah, but that's the thing, man. And it is all love. Kenny, have you been doing any mics lately?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I go out to Ron's on Mondays.
Oh yeah, at the HMAC. Hell yeah.
HMAC.
I don't think I was there. Not this past one, but the week before I was there. That weird guy Cobra was there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's good, man. It's good to get out there and have you gotten your vaccines and everything or not? We're not sure about it yet or.
Oh, I got both of them.
Nice. Hell yeah. Which one?
Moderna.
Hell yeah. Same as me. I said it sounds like a first baseman. Moderna.
Yeah, both. At first base,
Moderna coming in, or maybe plays like he plays the hot corner coming in third base. Moderna.
Third base, Moderna, and Moderna is out by a mile.
Hell yeah, man. Did you? So yeah, I appreciate you calling in, man. This has been fun. This is good. I like the call-in feature of it. This has been a really good conversation as far as like. I honestly, when I start talking about this stuff, it's so weird to fully to show my full perspective of it because it sounds like a general like who cares about Israel and Palestine, but it's more of it's the same fucking story. It's the same thing I've heard over and over again.
But Pat, let me give you this though.
Yeah.
We need to care.
Okay.
We need to care, because if it can happen in other countries, it can happen in ours.
Yeah, and that's the point where I go like, my issue with it is the fact that when you start seeing the same types of arguments that you've been seeing people argue about who the president should be, whose lives matter. Like, what are you talking about? How could you argue about what the fuck are you talking about? Like, there's so many different things where I've been like, and you're right. And I see that in that sense of like, we are not that far off from being, we were just in the same state of civil unrest we were the distraction country. You know what I mean? Everybody was watching the U.S. fall to pieces. Now we're all watching the Middle East fall to pieces. Then we're going to watch another. You know what I mean? Like each one of these things. It's. But overall, it comes down to, it is but like a couple of decisions away from being the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And we have to be mindful of it, that the same kind of mentality of government over there is creeping into the United States. So I always tell there's a story. It was called "There's a Mousetrap in the House."
Okay.
And the mouse ran out into the barn and said, "Hey, y'all, there's a mousetrap in the house." Well, they didn't bother them at all. And then the snake got caught on the mousetrap. The farmer's wife went to take the what she thought was a mouse off the trap. It was a snake, bit her. They said, "Oh, she came down with the flu. She needs some chicken, some soup." So the farmer went out and killed the chicken, made some soup. She got worse. They said, "You need to feed her." So they killed the cow. And then, she died, and all the people was coming in, so they killed the hog. And then the mouse said, if they would have just listened when I told them there was a mousetrap in the house. See, we looking at them sometimes as if this their problem. But that's the mousetrap.
Right. That's a great analogy. That's actually a good point. And that's an issue of not only the fact that it needs to be addressed, or at least paid attention to now, but now in the sense that, let's just say, why don't we try to do something different? Why don't we try exactly like you said, instead of just I guess in my aspect of, let's pay attention. That's what I'm saying, is instead of me just listening to this and saying, "Oh, who gives a shit?" Let me find out like really what the issue is, but not only that, but also try to help in the solution of like figuring out how to progress from here. Like to not end up coming back out to the barn to kill another thing. Because that's what I feel like it's the same
exactly.
thing.
And so we have to be very mindful. I mean, I've never seen us this involved this past 4 years. I've never seen the United States this involved with Russia in my life.
Yeah. Like
I mean, almost like in a partnership. I've never witnessed that. Now, there was treaties, you know what I mean? There was peace treaties, but never so involved. And so it's just interesting that the same things we see over in the Middle East, it's happening here. Storming the government.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like shit like that. Like
I'm 55 years old. I've never seen anything like that in my life.
Yeah. They're still catching people. I saw they said they just caught the guy that was that broke into Nancy Pelosi's office. They arrested him in Denver.
Right.
But
guess what?
What?
We see it all the time over in the Middle East. And so we have to pay attention. So we can't just ignore it.
But
exactly. We should.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's like not just ignore it, but yeah, just to say.
But we should have a heightened awareness that not only is it happening over here, but you better look out what's happening here, because it's happening.
Right. Yeah, I see.
Anytime a police officer can publicly execute a man in public, and we're wondering if he's in jail.
Yeah, well, the
like
fact
no one was 100% he wasn't going to go to jail.
And we're still that's the point that I like when I heard that sentencing was 3 months away, and then I heard the allegations or the story about the guy who they said lied on his the jury member that lied about not going to a march or to whatever. When I started hearing that stuff, I was like, oh, there it is. I was waiting for that. I was waiting for
Yo,
the other shoe to drop.
We're waiting on something.
Right.
And when you're in a country like this, that is not an open and shut case, then you're just like the Palestinians that can do anything they want to women and nothing happens to them.
This is very interesting. Casey just commented in the chat. She said the guard unit at Fort Indiantown Gap is building a base in Lithuania outside of Russia. They're setting up for a reason. ...
I'm telling you.
Yeah, that's interesting.
We need to pay attention.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, look.
It's on our Pat, and that isn't Pat. We don't have the power to do anything.
No.
But it's on our doorstep.
Right. If anything, we can. That's the thing of being mindful of whatever. Of like anytime I start like I said, that was my initial reaction. Anytime I see a big news story of like a huge thing that really like it's a huge thing that's going to involve a bunch of people arguing over this subject for a while or being concerned with this, and then while that's happening, this is happening. You know what I mean? Like she's saying, "Oh yeah, the guard. This is happening outside of Lithuania." What's you know, I'm saying what's the news on Lithuania? Why aren't we hearing any news of what's going on?
Why are we hearing that?
So it's like it always, and then that always starts itching the distrust of the government or the distrust and all this stuff. But then ultimately my peaceful nihilism takes over and I go, yeah, but Pat, what really can you do?
Right.
What really, how powerless am I? And you know what I can do, Kenny? I can go live every Monday, every Wednesday, and every Friday, and we can try to make fun of it.
Right.
As whatever's happening happens, I can just go, boy, oh boy, isn't this silly? Farts, and then I can and just continue. But like you said, at least seeing it coming can be you can prepare, you can brace yourself a little bit better.
Hey, Pat?
Yeah.
The Bible says, my people perish for lack of knowledge.
Oh.
And because we are uneducated in certain forms, it's easy to pull the wool over our eyes.
It really says that?
Yes.
That's very ironic in the Bible. Like that, because I feel like a lot of people are held to that. Like they have that same thing. Like it's just that like I said, in some religions, that's like, it's funny that could happen. Holy shit. That's crazy that's in there, and people would still either put faith in government or in people in general.
Exactly.
And just people.
Here's the thing: people don't read or study the Bible.
Right. Well, yeah, I can see that. People. Well, a lot of times the studying or the thing is usually the interpretation of their leader, and if you don't have strong leadership or educated leadership, a lot of times that's where we fail a lot.
Well, let me blow your mind on this one.
Please.
It also says we only know in part.
What do you mean?
But when that which is come, which is Jesus, comes back, we'll know in full. So I can't say who's right or who's wrong about their religion. I say a lot of it, we may have a piece of, everybody may have a piece of everything.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, how can sorry, go ahead.
But we only know in part.
Yeah, and even in your own religion, it's saying you won't even know until this. So,
right.
So how can you even say you know right now?
Right. You only know, I'm going to tell you what we do know. We know what makes a good living as far as morally, wholesome.
Yeah.
We know.
That's the golden rule. That's something that's super simple in a lot of cases, is the golden rule. Treat people the way you would want to be treated.
Correct.
And obviously not that it's not that we need to downsize religions because then people are going to take offense, but I think we need to stop putting so much reality into a lot of just pretty good life lessons that are written there, because that's a good lesson to go by.
That's a good lesson to go by. Now, what stands us apart is Jesus, and we believe that the salvation and that good stuff. But the general populace of religion is do the right thing.
Right.
Just do the right thing.
Yeah. It's so simple. It works in relationships as well as society. If you are in a relationship and you go, boy, how would I feel if my spouse was doing this thing that I'm doing?
Correct.
And that's your answer if you should be doing it. How would it make you feel if you heard news of that? The same way if you're saying a word.
Would I feel comfortable if my wife was at the bar flirting with all the men?
Right.
And if my answer is no, I wouldn't like that.
Right.
Then I shouldn't be flirting.
Yeah, and then it's there. I always joke about this with Dominique is like there always is a right and wrong. People just don't always like to address it. Like you don't always like to say like because people think in a win or lose attitude a lot of times, Kenny, and I like to think in a lot of times in you win or you learn. Like you get a situation where you may not always do the right thing, but you like doing the wrong thing isn't a loss necessarily. It's not always win or lose. It's sometimes it's you learn or you learn. Like either way.
Because everybody who makes a mistake in a relationship, they don't know they made the mistake.
Right. Yeah. So if you don't know, if you're not aware of it and you're not sharing that kind of thing, like that's the thing is treating people the way you. So if you were feeling a certain way and like sometimes just communicating the way you feel is the right thing to do and in a least emotional fashion as possible. And unfortunately, not a lot of people are able to take their emotions out of their thoughts or beliefs.
Correct.
So, I mean, that's where we get into these situations, man. But I appreciate you sticking around for the show, man. This has been a great conversation.
It has been, Pat. I'm gonna come in again sometime.
Dude, you're more than welcome anytime. Like I said, anytime, anybody listening to this or watching this right now, you can call this number anytime. 717-559-2971. You can leave a voicemail. I'll play it on the show. I got segment music for voicemail, so I'm itching to use that. Anytime you guys leave a voicemail, when we go over that, that's a whole new segment on the show that I've been waiting to use. You can text that number. You can call that number anytime. And then if we're live, whenever we're live from Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., you can call that number and have a great conversation like we've had today, Kenny.
All right.
Thanks so much for hanging around, man. I just want to let you know I'm going to...
I want to hang up on you now. Please, understand this, okay?
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you later.
All right, buddy. Hey.
All right. That has been Kenny Robb. And you guys have been great, man. I appreciate everybody pounding off in the comments. Casey, we got Karen, we got your Ians. Check out Strong Words with Ian Strong. His most recent show has DDP on it, Mr. Diamond Dallas Page himself. They talk about Y. They talk about D's. They talk about P's. They're talking about, and it's also uncensored. So I know that my episode wasn't uncensored, but DDP's is. So you can enjoy